Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Southfield City Council, November 21st, 2022. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Banks.
Present.
Councilman Brightwell.
Here.
Councilman Cruz.
Present.
Councilman Frazier, I have absent. Councilman Hoskins.
Here.
Council President Mandelbaum.
Present.
And Council President Pro Tem Taylor.
Present.
Sir, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Can everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we have our communications portion for this evening. The Southfield City Council has established the following rules of procedure for all speakers. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which the officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official performs his or her duties. No person shall use abusive or threatening language towards any individual when addressing the city council. Any person who violates this section shall be directed by the presiding officer to be orderly and silent. If a person addressing the council refuses to become silent when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the city council and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. The first speaker is Greg Keeler. Next speaker is Keith Harris.
How everybody doing today? My name is Keith Harris, and I'm here again to talk about the incident that happened on Election Day. I'm still kind of shook up about that, but I did take the time to go to the FBI, and they told me that they have to wait until Southfield's investigation. They were aware of the incident, first of all. They were very aware of it, but they said it's in the hands of Southfield, investigators now. But what's even more shocking is for a mother to plan an attack like this and bring her 2 minor kids, a 10-year-old kid and a 17-year-old autistic kid, and for her to stand out there in front of a school, a voting poll, and pound on her sign and say, I fight for you, I fight. And repeat this, and then tell her daughter, I'm teaching you how to fight. Now, her daughter at the time sharpened a sharp, blunt object, standing beside her mother. Now, don't we have enough violence after Oxford? We just had 4 schools shut down in Oakland County because of kids calling in threatening, other kids. I mean, this was such a poor display of a candidate, not only a candidate, but a professional individual. And it goes to show you that mental health has no range on education. It doesn't matter if you're educated or how smart you are. We got to start looking at the mental health of our elected officials and our candidates now. We got to start looking deep into people who want these elected and appointed seats, because we should feel protected at a school, a church, your workplace. And if parents are teaching their kids how to be violent, what's next? What's next? This little girl will be violent. This autistic young man was running around because he was excited, just doing what most autistic kids do. This is not the Southfield that I know. I've been in this city 20 years now, and I've never seen this from no elected official, none. It was embarrassing, it was shameful for the residents, and it was especially embarrassing for African American people. So I'm really hoping the Southfield Police do their job and talk to the people that were at the polls, and just do their job. This must be heard in the courts. Like I said, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Stacy Jackson.
Good evening, Stacy Jackson, Southfield resident. I'm here this evening to pretty much echo the sentiments of my husband who just spoke before me. One of the other concerns that I have is, as I mentioned last week, if this had happened at a backyard barbecue, I would not be here. But instead, it did happen on Election Day at a polling location, and that is quite disturbing. For those who witnessed the event, it was terrorizing in its moment. And the fact that there are state and federal laws, local laws even, that prohibit these types of disturbances and interference at a polling location. The fact that that person, in my opinion, was not sequestered and removed from the location by Southfield Police when they did arrive is a bit perplexing to me. These types of incidents are serious. Southfield, as special as we are not unique to things that are happening across this country. That incident, clearly, if my husband and I had reacted to what was given to us, could have escalated to things unimaginable. That not only would have affected our family and household, but residents, voters, children, seniors, the disabled. And the fact that Southfield PD came out, and when I thought about it, they never took our names, they never took our information. They did not speak to any of the witnesses. It was just a matter of that they arrived when the situation had settled, and then that was it. Had we not followed up and followed through with a police report providing them names of witnesses that were there, I would be concerned that nothing would even happen behind this incident. Now, the fact that we had a sitting city council person there, the chair of 2 state and county organizations and poll watchers there, is a reason for people to act on that. So I'm hopeful that this council does play a role in following up to make sure that justice is at least in the process and moving forward. Because what had happened at that polling location clearly could have put Southfield on a map for the wrong reasons, because it was violent, it was unexpected, unsolicited on our part, and dangerous. When it comes down to making physical contact to someone and spitting on a person intentionally, that's battery. That's assault. And so our coming here tonight and going forward about this matter is not just to say, hey, we've been victimized. It's a matter of what if we had responded with violence against violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sam Bacall.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have a business and gas station owner for the past 27 years in Southfield, and I would like the council to consider or reconsider allowing gas stations to sell liquor in our gas stations. I think the time has come for that, because I have petitions from about 800 signatures from customers who live in Southfield. Things have changed. Consumer habits have changed. The trends are going that way. If we look at the cities around us, many of them have been doing this with no problems. Every gas station, convenience store abides by the laws of the state and the cities, including us. We are facing a lot of challenges in the past few years, namely COVID and people are driving less. And looking down the future, we have a lot of electric vehicles coming into the play. And that's going to continue to cut into our business and profit. So we have to change our business model going forward. We all have families to support. We pay taxes. We have commitments to banks. We have commitments to the oil companies. And at the same time, a lot of the gas stations that we own, namely mine, has been kind of outdated. So looking forward, if I want to rebuild or improve it, if I don't see any revenue coming in, it's going to be hard to rebuild. So if I see something coming in as a business owner, I will make the commitment and invest in the future, just like we have been the past 27 years at least. I have copies of these petitions for every single.
You can give them to our city clerk.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jim Enslot.
You were close. It's Esnot.
Oh, I apologize.
I am also a citizen of Southfield, and I've come to discuss the issue of the proposal for a culvert being built at Southfield and 12.5 Mile, Windflower Drive, which is the drive that I actually live on, which is behind the proposed build-out. And the primary concern, it's several concerns, but the primary concern would be with the traffic pattern. A traffic study which was done by the Culver's rep showed that that particular intersection is the highest accident intersection within like a mile and a half strip on Southfield Road. And then the entrance and exit, which will be on Windflower Drive instead of off of Southfield, is going to create more traffic as well. So with that, the traffic will possibly lead to not only delays, but potential for accidents, vehicle and pedestrian accidents, as that is a walking path across Windflower Drive. And then also, as an inconvenience to those that live directly behind that, it almost becomes an attractive nuisance as it relates to the potential for increased traffic, security risk, because now you will have people traveling into our subdivision that never probably even realized that the subdivision was back there. So we're going to have additional security risk, traffic risk, and then for those that live immediately behind the wall where the Culver's parking lot will be, those people will have to deal with issues as far as potential light noise, noise pollution, light pollution, and the sound from the dumpsters as the trash trucks come, or the delivery trucks themselves come behind there. Those people will be dealing with that inconvenience as well. So I'm hoping that the council will take in consideration of the citizens that will be adversely affected by the build-out of a culvert at that location. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Arwilda Smith.
Good evening, Arwilda Smith. I'm a Southfield resident. I'm also here about the plan to build the Culver's restaurant. It's going to be a problem with the traffic. That's the only reason I have to oppose this. I'm adamantly against it because we already have so much traffic and problems with the Starbucks traffic. And I almost get hit trying to come out of the subdivision to come out to Southfield Road because they don't look, they just come out and they just come in front of people. They turn in front of you when you're trying to come out. They turn left in front of you. They run in front of you. So with this extra traffic coming from the left side, Starbucks is always coming from the right, it's going to be a problem. And my thing is, why can't they use the property across the street where the bank is that's been empty for years? They can knock that down. There's no traffic hardly over there, and they have an interest on Southfield and an interest on Edward. So my thing is, it's going to be a real problem. And what's going to happen is when they can't get their customers in and out, nobody's going to come, and the building's going to be empty. And what's going to happen then? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Amanda Galbraith.
Hello, I'm also a Southfield resident. I live on Windflower Drive, and I think that if the Culvers is going to be put in that parcel behind our property, that there should not be an entrance placed on Windflower Drive. With what Arwilda said, we have a stop sign coming out onto Windflower Drive already by the Starbucks, and I've lived there for 15 years. After the Starbucks was put in, they do not stop at that stop sign when they come out of the parking lot. I have almost been hit 2 times by, people coming out of that parking lot, and I think if there's another entrance that is going to butt up on Windflower Drive, it's just going to be a safety concern. So I'm opposed to the entrance being on Windflower Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Margie Williams.
Hi. I am also a resident of Springhaven Villas right off of Windflower Drive, and I am here with concerns with the culverts that will be built that is being discussed. Essentially, some of the same concerns, the way that the traffic is, we have one entrance and one exit out of the subdivision. So all of the traffic comes in and out of that intersection. The study that was done that Jim mentioned was actually done on 4 different intersections. One of those intersections was across the street at the Target. We actually have 4 times the amount of accidents at our intersection than what was happening at that Target intersection. Essentially, the plans are stating that there will be an entrance into the culverts right off of Windflower across from where the Starbucks entrance and exit is. So it's just 2 lanes of traffic coming in, plus everyone that's in the subdivision that's trying to come out. I almost got hit probably about 2 days ago with somebody that was coming out of the Starbucks restaurant. The other issue for us is if there is an accident that happens there, the amount of time that it would take to get that accident cleared literally will trap us in our subdivision. We have 1 entrance, 1 exit. We will not be able to get out of our subdivision. The road itself curves in such a way that when you have too many cars that are trying to make a left-hand turn, it's almost impossible to drive past them when you're driving into the subdivision off of Southfield Road. The road itself is not wide enough for the amount of traffic that would be coming in, and they're talking about increasing that amount of traffic. In addition to that, there have been some concerns over who's going to be responsible for the maintenance on that road specifically. Right now, we are paying our association dues, and that road is a private road, so we have to handle part of the cost of the maintenance on that road itself. If our association dues end up going up because of this, Culver's has not said definitively whether or not they would take on that extra cost, so it's going to end up costing us even more money. And just like what Arwilda said, with the restaurant itself, there have been other restaurants that have been in the area that have not done so great. This is a custom build-out. It's going to be built out specifically for the Culver's and only for the Culver's. If that Culver's goes out of business in the next 5-6 years, it's going to be an empty building right at the front of our subdivision. Currently, as it stands, our property value has been doing fairly well, that would actually directly hurt our property value and hurt the people that make up the community of Southfield. When you hear from us, each and every one of us have lived in that neighborhood for 15 years. Every single one of us have been there for forever. We've seen the build-outs that have been happening around in the city. We know how the businesses work. We have our foot on the pulse of that area specifically. The Culvers being there is not only going to create an inconvenience and a safety hazard for us, but potentially hurt our pockets in a minority neighborhood at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lewis Williams.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here again to speak against the proposal, the plan, to allow recreational marijuana businesses to operate in our city. One of my main concerns is that we need to be very concerned and very careful regarding our young people. We don't want to do anything that'll make marijuana more available, more inviting, more enticing, more convenient for our young people. I think it would be negative and destructive for more of our young people to be involved with recreational marijuana. And I say any adult that wants to buy it somewhere else. There are other places that can be purchased. Now, we call Southfield the all-American city, the family city. I agree with that. I'm not speaking against that. But we don't want it to be called the marijuana city. We don't want people to say, well, just go over to Southfield and you get all the marijuana you want. I do not want people saying that about our city. Also, I would not want to live near a recreational marijuana business. And I feel that most of you would not either. And I certainly would not impose that, would not want to impose that on any of our citizens. Also, the possible increase in crime that might result from having a business like this. I think that's a real possibility, and certainly we don't want to do anything that may increase the crime in our city. Southfield is a fine city, and we want to keep it like that. I urge you to vote against allowing recreational marijuana businesses to be open in our fine city. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Keeler? Okay. That concludes our communication portion. We appreciate everyone who spoke for Culver's. We'll have that presentation shortly, and hopefully some of your questions will be answered as well. The next we have presentations. There's a presentation of a joint resolution for Southfield Small Business Saturday.
Podium, our director of the Southfield Chamber of Commerce. And good evening, and I see Jasmine has come prepared with a little handout. So as we've done every year, and I can attest, as someone who regularly attends chamber ribbon cutting, business ribbon cuttings, we have many, many, many small businesses in the city of Southfield. And so, once again, we're promoting Small Business Saturday. You may note that this week, maybe it was over the weekend or last Friday, I don't recall, that Governor Whitmer also announced support for Small Business Saturday, which is this Saturday, November 26th. So this is a joint resolution from the mayor and city council, Small Business Saturday, November 26th, 2022. Whereas the government of Southfield, Michigan celebrates its local small businesses and the contributions they make to the local economy and community. And according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 30.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all firms with paid employees in the U.S. and are responsible for about 65% of new jobs. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. And whereas 96% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that shopping at small, independently owned businesses supports their commitment to making purchases that have a positive social, economic, and environmental impact. And 97% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that small businesses are essential to community life. Whereas 95% of consumers who shopped on small business reported that the day makes them want to shop or eat at small, independently owned businesses all year long, not just during the holiday season. Whereas Southfield, in cooperation with the Southfield Chamber of Commerce and the Oakland County Economic Development Office, supports its local businesses that create jobs, boost the local economy, and preserve communities. Now therefore be resolved that the mayor and city council, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, do hereby proclaim November 26, 2022 as Small Business Saturday in the city of Southfield. And we encourage all residents in our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants as Small Business Saturday and on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. And this is signed by the mayor and members of the council and council president. I would ask for a resolution or a motion of support.
Mr. President,
Councilman Cruz?
I'd like to move that we approve the joint resolution for Southfield Small Business Saturday as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilwoman Taylor, to approve the presentation of joint resolution for Southfield Small Business Saturday. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I'm going to present the resolution that you've all signed to Jasmine, and I know she'd like to say a word or two.
Thank you to Council, and thank you, Mayor Stiver, for this resolution. Of course, I do not stand here alone in making acceptance of this, and I also wanted to acknowledge small businesses that are within the chamber that are here today that wanted to be present. So if you're a small business owner, I see Sharita Heron, please stand. A local storefront business owner, Jonathan DeSantis is also here, please stand. I wanted to make sure that we had small business owners present acknowledging this day. I think it's important to have them here with us. Also, as we have done in the past, we are also partnering with Oakland County with their Shop Small and Local initiative. This year is a bit different. You're able to submit a selfie at a local small business that you consider to be a local gym, and the grand prize is $1,000. Second prize is $500. So this is a great initiative for the public to get engaged and to visit our small businesses here in Southfield and to take a quick selfie and potentially win money. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I'll leave these here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda are one set of minutes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting minutes of October 3rd, 2022.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 3rd, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have nothing on our consent agenda. Next, we have our public hearing and site plan. And I'll turn it over to our planning department. And I'd like to ask specifically, you've heard some of the speakers before. Hopefully during the presentation, you can address some of those issues. But we will have another option for public input after the presentation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we do have two items before the council this evening. One is a special use, one is a site plan. The first one is PSLU 22-0002. This is the special use request of Rosetta Building Company to allow for the use of a property for a standalone restaurant with drive-through. The second part is the site plan portion, and I will be making the presentation of both at one time. The site plan, PSP 22-0005, is the site plan review request of Rosetta Building Company to construct a 3,904 gross square foot Culver's restaurant with drive-through, property located on Sidwell parcel 2412153.019. The image before you on the screen is the property in question. This property is a B3 general business property from a standpoint of zoning. This property, as well as the property directly to the north, is also Zone B3, and were initially proposed to be constructed with commercial-type uses as a part of the overall development. This gives you a look at the existing conditions for the property. We are looking to the southeast, so we're actually at the corner of Southfield Road and Windflower, and then the bottom image is from Southfield Road itself looking directly east. Also existing conditions. The image on the left is an aerial photo from 2010 that indicates the striping at the time that would allow for traffic from a direction standpoint as to where the left-hand turn lane would be, the right-hand turn lane, and then the lane on Windflower that would head east toward the housing developments there. The image on the right is the current layout showing just arrows, so it can be a little difficult to see exactly where you're supposed to be on this road, at least from the standpoint of lining up with lights or actually traveling Windflower going either east or westbound. Again, as I noted, zoning is B3 general business, and this is part of the North Southfield sub-area development. Site plan. So this is a copy of the site plan that's being proposed this evening for the Culver's Restaurant, which would be along the east property line. They do provide with the proper number of parking spaces to meet the needs for the restaurant, as well as stacking. We require 8 stacking spaces for a drive-through. They actually have 20 parking spaces for drive-through. So they're providing enough stacking spaces for any overflow should there be any. Along the south of the property, you will see at what would be the southwest corner, those parking spaces are designated for employees only. The reason that was done was because of the stacking, that should stacking go that far, it would not be affecting customers, but it would be just for in the employee parking areas. Landscape plan. They are providing significant landscaping on this site, including proposal for landscaping along the east property line, both on the property and potentially on the Springhaven property in order to provide screening for this particular use. They do need waivers for landscaping. They are providing, as you can see along Southfield Road, a shrub hedge, but they are also providing the brick piers and the ornamental fencing that you can see that's consistent along Southfield Road from 12 Mile up to 13 Mile. Proposed elevations of the property and renderings. The floor plan. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to the petitioner. They did provide a traffic study, as was noted earlier, from one of the residents. So they can go through, again, the results of the traffic study, as well as any other information they'd like to provide, including hoping that they would be able to answer the questions from the residents that were brought up earlier.
Hi, good evening. Andrew Zelke, how are you tonight?
Good evening.
Just want to give you a little bit overview of what Culver's Restaurant is. Culver's is a restaurant that serves delicious Butterburgers, desserts, and a variety of other menu items. Culver's model must have an owner-operator on site, which manages the daily operations of the restaurant. Even though Culver's is a franchise, the expectations for the owner to be present and engaged as a full-time on-site operator with the commitment to quality, their team, the commitment that they serve. This model allows for the cleanliness and make sure that we serve our guests and make sure that things are handled correctly at the restaurant level. This model is mostly opposite of most food businesses, which in locations are mainly owned by large corporations without the owner present to day-to-day activities. Culver's cares and supports the community, whether it's a large organization, local organization, fundraiser, supporting local school events, sponsoring youth sports teams, or just local community involvement. We chose the Culver's brand because it's high quality, excellent food, brand image, involvement with the community and local schools. First point I want to make is that the understanding of the process of Culver's drive-thru is opposite of what a Starbucks restaurant is. At the Culver's restaurant, can you bring up that site plan, Culver's? So when Culver's, when you order at a Culver's restaurant, you place your order at the speaker post. And at that point, after the order is placed, you move up to the window. At that point, you pay for your food, and then the food is made fresh for you. And after that, you move forward to wait for your food to be made. In Starbucks, you order your food, you pull up to the window, you wait at the window, and at that point, that stacking starts behind the window and can easily back up quite a bit behind into the speaker post and back into the property itself. Overall traffic flow, I've been many times out to the site, and I've looked at Google Maps and Google Times, and it allows you to look at Google as far as when the restaurant is busy at Starbucks, and allows you to visually look at how things are progressing from the customer's point of view when ordering and placing food. And I have never seen it back up into Windflower. I know some of the concerns with the residents that traffic does back up and get into the lanes of flow. I went out to the Starbucks on August 12th from 7:30 to 12:30, and Saturday, August 13th from 9:30 to 12:30. And on that Friday, I did meet Jim out there. We had, lengthy discussions for like 30 minutes regarding, traffic flows and what was happening out there with the traffic flow at the Starbucks. And just trying to look at, when their busy times are in the morning and to see where all this traffic is generated and what's going on in the area. I went out the Saturday evening of the Dream Cruise just to see, because it said that, traffic was busy at the Starbucks, according to Google, and traffic was flowing normally as it does at Starbucks. As I was out there on Saturday and Friday in August, I watched and documented the timing of the traffic signal activation by either westbound or eastbound traffic at Webster and Windflower, and saw an average and recorded the number of cars traveling east and the length of red light to green light activation by either westbound or southbound traffic, as well as westbound traffic, the length of time of green light, and how often the signal lights changed. And the average number of times the left-hand turning cars would line up at the light was about 1.5 cars per signal change. And the average wait time was about a minute, and then the average light was about 15 seconds long to allow the traffic flow through, and each time the traffic lined up, all the traffic was able to exit onto Southfield Road. And the light cycled every 2.5 minutes per time the traffic lined up at the start of either the westbound traffic or eastbound traffic. At that time, I wasn't able to visually look at any cars that were not able to make it through the traffic signal or get stuck at the traffic signal or have to wait for a left-hand traffic signal. Everything flowed correctly. All the traffic lights are timed along Southfield Road beautifully. You can see the traffic slowing down, the traffic light would turn green, cars would exit, and then from there, the traffic on Southfield Road would time out and move corresponding up north or south. And then as I met with Jim, we spoke for about 30 minutes at the time. We did address, clean up, trash out there, parking lot lighting, and as we were out there also, we did notice that one car was not lined up correctly because the striping wasn't painted correctly in the road, so it was missing striping. And you can see that caused the congestion of the traffic because when the car wasn't able to line up correctly at the left-hand turn light, it was off-center to the right. He can't see oncoming traffic heading east, and the left-hand turn car that's lined up in front of him can't see on the other side of him, so it caused congestions on both sides of the roads. And during the time, we did have another traffic meeting session at the Planning Commission, and as my own observations, not being able to see what the homeowners are caring about, I did talk to a local business to the north. I did talk to another homeowner that was walking through there with her dog and asked her if she had any issues exiting or traffic. She had said no, and she's out there every morning, walking her dog and getting to Starbucks. So she sees the traffic as well as when she leaves every day for work. I did talk to Jack, who's an actual delivery driver for Jet's Pizza. His brother owns Jet's Pizza. And basically, he says he delivers pizzas all day long and never has any issues getting out, never has any issues with traffic. And, in his 20 years of being there, has never had a, real major issue with traffic flow. And then that morning, I also talked to T-Mobile, and they actually had an opening up early at 8 o'clock at the same, just at the same time, peak hours with Starbucks, and they had their Apple launch. And I asked them, how's their Apple launch going? Are they having issues with the customers coming in and out? They said, no, we hear every day. We see some congestion with Starbucks, sometimes in the morning. But, for the most part, our customers are not hindered by the traffic of Starbucks. And then overall, like I said, the traffic light's there for a signal and to make traffic, safely exit and ingress for both sides of traffic. The traffic is timed perfectly with everything on Southfield Road. I did call Oakland County to ask if they had any questions regarding, any concerns with any homeowners, any issues with any businesses, originally back in June, and they said no. And I followed up with them today again to ask if, any other businesses or any homeowners, to the east or to the west had any traffic issues, and he said no, no one has ever followed up. And so that was my due diligence from both sides of the business owners as well as Oakland County to find out if there's any issues with traffic, in this area. And I really haven't had any, reason to believe why there would be any issues with traffic, flowing in and out of that area right there. And the actual, intent of the B3 business district is, General use is characterized by large, volumes of vehicular traffic. The district is intended to prohibit establishments that require outdoor storage or storage of goods. The district could generally be, used adjacent to higher volume major thoroughfares. So, it's designed for this type of business and to be placed on this type of road based on the actual zoning that the city has. And at the time, this whole development was engineered, they took in consideration of the traffic signals, of traffic movement and everything like that, or else this, major development with the subdivision and the strip center of the north, as well as this vacant parcel of the south, to, to allow this type of business to be built there. So, and, my wife grew up in Southfield. She grew up on Everett Street at 12 Mile and Greenfield, and she's just trying to bring a business back to, the community that she grew up in, graduated high school here with.
Okay. Did you want to walk through the traffic study?
Yeah.
Some of those slides?
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mohammed Lutfi. I work with AEW, and I am professional traffic engineer. I work for Road Commission for Oakland County for 26 years, and I retired. And he hired me, to do a traffic study for this development.
Could you pick the mic up a little bit?
Yeah, I was hired, to do the traffic impact study, for this development. And what I found, the way we do it, we estimate, the trip generation, how many trips, this development is gonna generate during the midday and the PM and Saturday. And the Saturday time, we've been instructed to do the Saturday because we thought, the Saturday is the highest, traffic volume, come from the development. After we do, the trip generation, then we distribute the trips based on what we have on the existing condition, traffic. We did traffic counts at the intersection of Windflower and Southfield. And then we did the evaluation, the existing condition, level of service, to see if there is any delay. And the intersection was operating with level of service D. And level of service D is acceptable level of service as far as traffic engineering expert. So we added, the trip distribution from the development to the background traffic, and we evaluate the level of service, and we came up with about 5-second increase with delay. So the conclusion, this development is going to have minimum impact on the traffic on Southfield and Windflower.
Okay. Thank you. We will have our public hearing now, and then afterwards we'll have questions from the council as well as any questions you can answer afterwards. Thank you. We'll now have a public hearing for the PSLU 22-0002 for the special use request for the Rosetta Building Company to allow for the use of the Culver's Restaurant. Those who wish to speak and address the council have 3 minutes. Please come to the lectern and provide your name.
Hi, good evening. Derek LaCicero, Southfield resident. I've lived in the, basically the Springhaven Villas on and off since 2014. I like Culver's as much as most people. Definitely support them being in the area. But I do agree with my fellow residents in that neighborhood that it creates a lot of issues with, there's a couple of like turning points specifically, right? So the one I'm most concerned about is when you're exiting the complex, or in this case, if you're exiting onto to try to get onto Southfield Road, it can only support 4 cars, I believe, until we start covering people's ability to turn left into the complex with the Starbucks. And then if people are exiting the Culvers there, there's a likelihood that they'll block the incoming traffic, right? So if somebody does not decide to wait and then actually get into that lane to try to get into the left turn lane to wait for the light, then you essentially block all incoming traffic into, both complexes and the subdivision. And then, like my fellow residents also commented, I've almost been hit several times coming out of our neighborhood because every time I'm coming through, people who are turning left into the complex, whether it be Starbucks or whatever, they're going inside of that complex, they never look out for residents coming out of that roundabout, right? So you can be going whatever speed, like as slow as you want to. Nobody ever looks, to the right when they're turning left into that complex. So I've almost been hit several times where I have to slam on my brake or they realize very last second they're about to hit me, right? Or then people coming out, again, never look left when they're trying to get into that turn lane or into that, going right lane. And again, slam on my brakes or they, almost hit me, right? This has happened countless times over the years. And then I think one of the big differences too, I don't really, consider Starbucks being the main issue, but there's several businesses there, but they also have an exit, Starbucks specifically, they have an exit going right out of another exit out of their complex there. So not all of the traffic from that complex goes through the Windflower private drive, right? So they do have a little bit of dispersion there. Yeah, I think my time's almost up, but I just wanted to voice my concerns there. I'd rather it not be placed there, and maybe a lower traffic business would be great. And I wish they would take a different building in the area because definitely love their burgers. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Maria Espinosa, Southfield resident. My husband and I live in the Spring Haven Villas, definitely amazing community. Definitely second voice all the concerns. Another one that I identify is that if the entrance is placed in Windflower Drive, people who's coming from Southfield Road has to turn right to enter Windflower Road into Culvers. And if you have seen this fast food businesses, especially Culver's or Chick-fil-A, they're novelty, right? People is very interested. There's not another Culver's in the area, so I think the closest one is in Madison Heights. So it will be a very hot spot for Culver's, right? So if you're coming from Southfield Road to turn right into Windflower, there's only one lane that it allows you to turn right into Windflower, right? So if there's a backup of client in Culver's because there's a big demand, or if there's labor shortage and they are not preparing the food fast enough, or anything that happens, then that only lane that allows residents to turn right into Windflower and entering the area is gonna be backed up by people who's waiting to enter the drive-through of Culver's, right? So what are residents gonna do? Are they gonna wait in line on the drive-through line clears? If not, we have to do a wrong turn because the other lines is only to go straight. So there's a conflict there because Southfield Road will be very backed up. Another concern that I have is this restaurant produce a lot of waste, it's food handling every day. I am concerned a little bit a little bit of the sanitary part, are we gonna attract maybe rodents in the area? How is the trash is gonna be handled? Until when are they gonna be open? There's gonna be a lot of traffic and noise going all day in that area. Right now we're a really lucky subdivision that doesn't have a lot of noise. That is a really, really peaceful, a lot of children, a lot of people with their dogs. And I wouldn't like to see a lot of noise, a lot of light into the area, just because a business is there that might be open until late hours of the night, because that's usually what fast food places do. So those are my concerns. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jim Esnault, and I just had a couple of more comments I wanted to add. First was the rendering that showed the aerial photo from 2010 that showed the striping. That had to be a rendering because there was no striping in 2010 on Windflower Drive. We placed the aerial stripings about 4 years ago now, but prior to that time, especially back in 2010, that had to be a rendering because there was no striping on Windflower Drive to show as it shows right now. And then second, as my neighbor just stated, that if Windflower gets backed up as you're entering off of Southfield Road heading north to turn right onto Windflower, I know that the Culver's rep will say that they have room enough in their parking lot to stage like maybe 10 to 15 cars while they're waiting, but that's in optimal conditions. So as was stated, if something does go wrong and something does get backed up where they cannot stage all of those cars, or say if they have more cars than they can actually stage, then the entrance onto Windflower Drive heading north will totally get backed up, similar to what happens at the restaurant, is that Popeyes on Telegraph and 12 Mile area, as they back off into the street. So all of their staging is full, and then they just fill up the turn lane as people are trying to continue south onto Telegraph Road. So yes, in optimal conditions, everything will be right. The trash will be collected on time, cars will be staged on time, the lighting will be at the right light, it will dim down at the right time as it's supposed to. There won't be any feedback from the speaker box for those that are living right on the opposite side of the wall there. So in optimal conditions, yes, it will be a beautiful world, but that seldom happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wilda Smith, Southfield resident. When you're coming north on Southfield to make the right turn onto Windflower, it's only going to be about 2 car lengths on Windflower before you get to the proposed entrance to Culver's. So yes, it's going to be backed up, and you're not going to be able to get in because it's just such a short 2 car length thing. Now the light timing on Southfield Road, north and south, is 2.5 minutes, but the timing of the light from Windflower onto Southfield is 30 seconds. I've been living there 15 years. I know what it is. And it's going to be backed up, everything. And then they didn't mention that T-Mobile and Jets and Starbucks, they have 2 entrances and exits. One on Southfield Road on the other end, north end of the building, and the one off of Windflower. So the people basically that use Jets, they use the other entrance. And the Jet people, when they are out delivering, they use the other entrance. But mostly the people that are messing up the traffic over here is because the Starbucks come back over here on this side of the building, coming off of Windflower. That's how come we have so much traffic there. So they come through to go through the drive-through on the back of Starbucks and T-Mobile, Jazz Pizza and all of that. They come through Windflower. But the others use the other entrance off of Southfield. So we was asking, why couldn't they have an entrance off of Southfield also, just like Jets and Starbucks, and they had one off of Southfield, one off of Windflower. And the empty bank across the street had one off of Edwards and one off of Windflower. That's next door to Home Depot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. So I kind of want to clear up a little bit of the misdirection that's happening with the whole conversation over the traffic and having it confirmed by people that do not live in the neighborhood 365 and are not always in the neighborhood as to what the actual traffic is there. Just like Derek said, he's almost gotten into several accidents. I've almost gotten into several accidents. Jet's Pizza is not coming through that neighborhood all the time. I don't even know what that's about. I don't know why it was relevant. However, I will say that the issue with Starbucks was never the traffic stacking to get into the drive-through at Starbucks that is in the parking lot there. The issue is, just like Arwilda said, people making a right-hand turn onto Southfield Road and then making another turn into the Starbucks drive-through from the back, which cuts us off. And also people that are coming out of the Starbucks through the back end because they don't want to wait in the drive-through line to get out, which is what's causing the accident potential for us. People just kind of pull out of there super fast. They're not really paying attention. I am serious. I almost had somebody hit me. It was about 2 or 3 days ago. Somebody almost hit me when I was coming out of the complex. The other concern is just like what they're saying, if you're going north on Southfield Road to turn right onto Windflower in order to get into the Culvers, there's not really a whole lot of space to even stack up traffic there without making us, and I will say this, I don't care if it's an inconvenience or not, if I have to wait another 15 minutes to get through traffic to go home, that is a problem. As far as the maintenance goes on the roads, I also find it interesting that it still has not been definitively said who's going to be responsible for the cost and the upkeep of the extra traffic going onto that road. In addition to that, the traffic lights that are out there, in previous meetings, they told us that we have to go through the city to try to get the lights changed so that the traffic wouldn't stack up as much when we're trying to get out of our complex altogether. So as far as I am concerned, and I would hope that this would be a concern for everyone who is listening, they're saying that they're going to be good actors in the community, and they are already crazy ignoring what our concerns are. There have not been any clear answers given as of yet.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? You want to read it now? Okay.
This is a letter I think that all of council received. It says, "My name is Michael Basil, and I live at the Balmoral condominium. I ride by this site on my bicycle every single day. When I received notice about a Culver's going into this spot that has sat empty for years, I thought to myself, a Culver's couldn't fit there, and I was about to recommend the now empty site at 29200 Southfield Road. However, after tinkering around with Google Maps and an image editing program, I discovered that yes, a Culver's could indeed fit in there. My only concern is the noise pollution it will create with the drive-through speaker. With the mock layout I created below, I had placed a freestanding Culver's located on 12 Mile in Madison Heights in this proposed location. I had rotated the layers so that the drive-through window was facing Windflower. The so-called noise pollution from the drive-through speaker could adversely affect individuals living at 18025 and 18011 Windflower. I am writing to you this letter because I will not be able to attend the hearing on Monday at 6 p.m. because I have to work. I hope you take these concerns into consideration as you render a decision on this matter. Thank you, Michael Basil." And I don't know if planning has seen this so-called mock, but I have the mock rendering here. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, I declare the public hearing closed. I'd like to ask the petitioner to come back up. And if council has any questions, or if you'd like to address some of the concerns that were raised.
Yes. So basically, regarding traffic, we addressed, how Culver's has, designed and how Culver's flows. There's 20 parking spaces, stacking spaces. I know as Popeyes is brought up as of spaces, cars backing up on Telegraph Road. That's why, our entrance is on that site, as well as to have a controlled intersection for safety of guests exiting and egressing into the property. If you come into our property, like I explained to you before, you come in, you pull this to the speaker post, which we actually ended up turning because it did face to the property to the east. So we did end up turning the speaker post to accommodate the subdivision and noise requirements that they wanted to have the speaker post, turned. And at that point, we adjusted some of the stacking, and that's why we put employee spaces there to allow, for additional stacking of the cars. So when you do come to the speaker post, this concept's no other, concept out there, Popeye, Starbucks, or whoever it might be, McDonald's or whatever, where you do place the order, go to the window, pay your money, and then you stack out front. That extra stacking we provided up front, we moved the building back in order to provide, 9 spaces or how many spaces we have up front to allow for cars to wait there for traffic to clear or whatever, congestion might be there. And that's, typically not of Culver's, usually up front they'll have 5 or 6 spaces, at the most 5 spaces. And, we've almost doubled that just to accommodate to make sure that the traffic issue is addressed. This, like I said again, this is a B3. It's zoned for high traffic, high volume cars in and out of this site. As far as pest control and rodents, we do have a pest control company, Rhodes Pest Control, that comes and does all of our maintenance on animals. They have, and also part of the health code, we got to have a pest control company that does that. And we have a porter that comes every morning that walks around the outside, cleans up, sweeps up, and makes sure that, paper, litter, and things are not traveling across to adjacent properties. We're open from 10:30 to 10 p.m. at night. Like I said, the speaker boxes turn the other way. Also, all of our speaker boxes are all digital now, so they're not really loud. I can hear the people talking in the back seat if I'm on a headset. That's how easy we can hear people. We don't have to have that loud volume anymore. For the traffic study, when he did calculations on the in and out of the traffic, it's pretty well balanced. Number of cars coming in, number of cars going out, and it's all balanced as far as, what he sees on his traffic generating computer program. And as far as the maintenance go, there's a private maintenance agreement that they have copies of that shows, the cost breakout of who's responsible for percentages of the actual maintenance of that private drive. I ended up just going and saying, hey, when I'm striping because there's a concern because traffic is poorly managed up there because the striping is not in the pavement. Nothing's lined up. Cars are all over the place. I offered to stripe the pavement to alleviate and make sure traffic can flow in and out correctly. And that's, pretty much it as far as, our end, trying to make everybody happy and get along with the community and making sure that I try to do my part and make sure that we abide by what we need to do to make everyone in the community happy.
Okay. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Councilman Brightwell?
What are the qualifications of the firm that produced the traffic study?
He's an engineer, registered
Okay.
engineer.
In Shelby Township?
Okay. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it, for maybe 34 years.
I can't hear you.
34 years?
Okay. What was the purpose of the of the traffic study, and what questions did you specifically answer with respect to the traffic study?
What we do with the traffic study, what we do, it depends, on the size of the development. I think the city of Southfield, they ask the developer, to conduct a traffic study to address, the issue of traffic. We look to we did traffic counts, to all, I think, 4 major intersections within the study area, and we evaluate the intersection before and after the development. It's built. And what we found, the development is going to have minimum impact, on the traffic, on Southfield.
Okay. So when you performed the study, at the end of the study, all questions that you were asked to answer, were they satisfactorily answered?
What question?
Okay, whatever.
There is a report, I did a report, it's like 120 pages, report. And we evaluate, the queue at the site, and we found, the queue, the traffic queue, I think it's gonna be like 2 cars. So that's why, our conclusion came out, the development is gonna have minimum impact, on the intersection at Southfield.
So I'm just looking for a summary. So you're saying that there's minimal amount of impact on the traffic in that area?
Yes.
From the location of this?
Generated from this development,
Okay. So, why isn't your conclusion coming across clearly to the residents that you say everything was normal, but I'm hearing something different from the residents? Why am I hearing 2 different stories here?
Because I have, I model the traffic, and I compare the existing and the proposed, and I didn't find any impact, there is minimum impact, but it's not severe, that it's gonna make, the intersection congested, based on this development.
Okay, so you're very comfortable with your study?
Yes.
Okay, the work?
Yes.
Okay, all right then. I have another question. I elicited from Chick-fil-A months ago the amount of time it would take for an order to be placed and to be filled. Do you have a time limit with respect to, well, not a time limit, but a performance standard with respect to filling an order at your window there?
By the time they order and by the time they leave, it's like about 4 minutes is what we try. By the time they place the order and by the time they pull up into the stacking, it's about 4 minutes.
4 minutes?
Yeah. Some food takes longer to cook than 4 minutes, but on average, it's about 4 minutes.
Okay, so that's your professional standard for Culver's? Okay, all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. To the planner, did I hear the residents correctly in that there is only one entrance and one exit to their subdivision?
To their subdivision, correct. Yeah, so that's at Southfield and Windflower, to the subdivision, correct.
I can't even imagine what it would be like. I was sitting here thinking about my home, and if there was an emergency and I had to get out, I've got 6, if not 8 different ways to exit from my property. I'm not sure what I would do if there was just one going onto Southfield Road. Was there ever any consideration to relocate the drive into the Culvers?
There were suggestions made by the residents to have the driveway off of Southfield Road. That would cause a whole bunch of different issues with people trying to make a left-hand turn from Southfield Road going southbound into this property. Because of the proximity to the existing light, that would cause a lot of issues with people trying to make a left-hand turn onto Webster. People trying to come out of the site at Southfield Road, trying to go left out of the property. There were just a whole bunch of other concerns that came up as a result of changing the location of the driveway to Southfield Road only instead of off of Windflower. Keep in mind that at Windflower there is a light, so there is controlled traffic at that point. You would not have that if you brought your driveway off of Southfield Road.
What's on the other, okay, so where Windflower is, what's on the opposite side of the building? Is there a?
Going which way?
Oh, God, Martha.
South.
Going
Well,
south.
south is the large shopping center there where Burlington is.
So there's no way we could have a drive going into the, wait, where Burlington is? You mean where the, isn't there a Boston Chicken or something there?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
parking lot.
Okay, so is there a way that a drive could be,
Brought in off the property.
Correct.
Private property to the south.
I don't know, I'm just asking. I mean, I feel for the residents in this area, I'm gonna be honest with you. If it's true that there's only 2 cars that can stack before they turn into the Culvers, that's not a lot of cars. And then what about the delivery trucks? When they come in, and then if there's additional cars that are there, in my opinion, 2 cars is just not enough. And it looks like the driveway to where the Starbucks parking lot is just real close to this parking lot. So you're gonna have 2 businesses that are gonna be exiting off the Wildflower. Am I understanding this correctly? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm just trying to visualize, because it's a beautiful area.
I was hoping to get an aerial here. Hold on for a second.
Okay.
So if you take a look at this particular image, you see where the roundabout is?
Yes.
So if you look just to the left of that, that is the driveway that goes up into the location where the Starbucks is. The location for the driveway for the Culvers would be about halfway in between Southfield Road and then where that roundabout area is. So it's offset.
Okay, well, I can just speak for myself. I just think it's too much there. The 2 driveways are too close, and especially because the residents only have 1 entrance and 1 exit out of their subdivision. With reference to the traffic study, I thought the engineers said that they determined that Saturday was the best day to do a traffic study for that area. Being a lifelong resident of this city, I think that's the worst day to do a traffic study.
No.
No, you said Saturday was the best.
Saturday is the highest
You want to
trips.
do the traffic study on Saturday so you can see the highest volume, so you incorporate that in your study.
Because
But I know, what I'm saying is I think that's the worst day to do it. It's during the week that it's busy.
Yeah.
Southfield Road is real busy during the
We
week.
did it during the week, and we did it during Saturday.
Yeah, weekday and Saturday.
But the trips, the restaurant generate more traffic on Saturday than during the week.
But that's good if it generates it on Saturday, because there's not that much traffic on
Yes.
Southfield Road, and
Yeah.
everyone in the subdivision is not going to and from work. So-
Saturday, the restaurant's gonna generate 215 trips. And in midday, during the week, it's gonna generate 174. And PM, it's gonna generate 129 trips. So we did evaluate during the day and Saturday.
Well, again, I can just speak for myself. I just think that 2 cars before you can make
Yeah,
it.
but that's not before, I stack everything in my parking lot. That's, when someone turns in, it's probably more than 2 cars. It's probably 3 or 4 cars that can be, stacked up, but we're not stacking cars out on Windflower Drive.
But if the drive-through is busy, I know we keep talking about the drive-through, I thought Culver's was more of a sit-down restaurant.
It is.
But we
It is a
seem to
sit-down
focus
restaurant.
a lot on this drive-through. And I guess just recently, we have approved a few restaurants with drive-throughs and off of Telegraph Road.
Mhm.
And it's been a nightmare, and then when you talk about Starbucks, I live near a Starbucks on Telegraph Road, and I don't even live off of the Telegraph, and I won't even go onto Telegraph Road in the morning time because all the cars are stacked on Telegraph, and the residents are correct. When they leave that complex, they don't pay attention. They've got their coffee, they just zoom because they're trying to get off to work.
Yeah, but we're not Starbucks.
I know, but
Our-
you're right next to the Starbucks.
I understand that, but our stacking is different than the traditional restaurants. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that when people come in, they pull into the speaker post, order, pull up to the window, pay, and then they pull forward to wait. Most drive-throughs on a restaurant will order at the speaker post, pull forward, and wait at the window, and that causes congestion behind the cars and backs everybody out.
So what kind of food does Culver's serve?
They serve hamburgers, chicken, fish, desserts, custard.
And it takes 4 minutes to place an order? I mean,
No.
From the time you place an order to the time you pick it up, it only takes 4 minutes to cook?
That's what our goal is, to get it out.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. I have no further questions.
Councilman Cruz?
Yes, sorry. Actually, Councilman Brightwell and Banks I had the same 2 questions too. So I think we're all on the same page as it relates to that. I was just going to ask Mr. Spence, when we do those road studies, though, it seemed like in the past, haven't they come from the county or state or something?
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, so Southfield Road is Oakland County's road, not Southfield's. So the direction was to talk with the Road Commission of Oakland County with regard to anything having to do with signal optimization and such. So it's not a city road. We would not take a look at that, no. It would be the county's responsibility.
Okay, all right.
And this is our recommendation from the study, that the signal has to be, we recommend the signal to be optimized, with the development.
If it needs it.
If it needed.
Okay. And if we did move forward with this, someone mentioned something about the light there and changing the time frames. Is that something that we do or no? Is that the city or?
Well, if I may, through the chair, I
That's all
believe that the
Oakland County.
petitioner can answer that. I know that there were concerns about light, especially at night. I believe that there was a conversation that was had with regard to actually dimming those lights in the evening, or that they would come on as a result of motion. But I believe that the petitioner should probably answer that.
Talking traffic lights.
Oh, the traffic light. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Again, the traffic light optimization that's in Oakland, it's Oakland County's
Still
road.
Oakland County. Okay, that's all I have.
And the signal is optimized because there is a camera, and it sensor, the traffic flow. And it gives timing, green time, based on demand, so it gives Southfield, more green time than,
Yeah,
besides-
and so if the striping is not on the road and
And-
people don't line up correctly, that camera's not going to work
It's
correctly.
not- Yeah.
And that's where all the traffic congestion's coming up on the, resident side, is that because there's no striping on the road. And the resident was out there at the time when this happened, and I pointed to him, and I took pictures, and I sent it to Jeff to show that, they had a car that was not lined up, and it backed up right behind them. And it'll happen all day long if those cars aren't properly placed underneath the traffic camera. That's why they're there. The striping's in the road, that's why we have all these stripings on roads, to make sure that traffic flows in a correct and orderly fashion.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Councilwoman Taylor?
Thank you. A lot of questions that I have been asked, but I do want to ask, did I hear you say you were willing to put the striping on the street
Yes,
to
yeah,
help with
I'm-
the controlling of the traffic?
Right, I'm trying to work with both sides here to try to make the project, amicable between everybody here.
Oh,
And I
okay.
told him, yeah, I'd put the striping down the road to make sure that, everything's correct and that the traffic flows correctly out of the subdivision and out of the community.
And the other question that I hear or have heard is that that's a private road.
Correct.
And so there's ongoing cost. Since you're going to be utilizing that road, are you also going to be a participant in paying for, if this is approved and moving
Yeah,
forward?
there's a private road agreement that's.
I'm sorry?
There's a private road agreement that dictates, everybody's proportion share of repairs and maintenance.
And you have a part in that?
Yes, and same with the property owner to the north, and same with the subdivision to the east.
Okay, and then the wall, there's a back wall.
Mhm.
How close is the next home behind that, your property?
I don't know exactly what that is. That's kind of, a condition of what the site plan was originally done at 10, 15 years ago.
To you, Mr. Spence, because of the wall behind Culver's to separate the housing from the restaurant?
Yeah, I'm looking at the plan here, and if I was to do a guesstimate, it's probably somewhere between maybe 20 to 25 feet or so beyond the wall to the east. And then keep in mind again that the petitioner is proposing significant landscaping along that east property line, not only on the Culver site, but also landscaping on the Spring Haven site in order to provide proper screening.
To help with the sound?
Correct.
And help me, please, I'm looking at the rendering here, but if you're turning into Culver's, where is the drive-through, where does it start? Is that if you go to the one with the, go back, no, go back.
Yep.
Nope. Well,
That
if
one
that one
has
can
it,
show
too.
me, where does the drive, because I live in this area, so I'm very familiar, and I know exactly what everyone is talking about. And when you turn, there is a very short distance. So the cars have to continue, if they can continue to turn into Culver's, how far are they going before they?
They go all the way to the back of the property.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so
so they got a good long ways to go back in.
Okay, so you should, there's no reason anyone should be stopped there, is what you're saying?
Correct, yes.
When you turn, have you considered a curb cut to make sure that your traffic, or if there's traffic going into Culver's, that it goes, so there's 3 lanes, like, here's one going into Culver's, the residents can use the straight through, and then whoever.
It's a private drive. It's all been engineered before I even got here, through the city of Southfield and everything like that. So all this, zoning, the subdivision, the zoning to the north, is all B3, which is conductive of large volume traffic business like this.
No, I understand that. So let me ask through the chair to planning. Can they consider, or was that discussed, of having that a curb cut? Because the street is only so wide, and if you're a resident, you want to go straight through, or a resident coming out, that would take up those 2 lanes. I understand that when they turn into Culver's, it's going to be plenty of room for them to turn and keep going, but that's ideal conditions. If something should happen where that's backed up, could that lead them right through to their area? With a curb cut going into there, it would give, that traffic another.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair. So there's 1 lane of traffic that comes off of Southfield Road, 1 lane that goes not only to allow you to turn into Culver's, but to continue to go straight. You don't have the room for 2 lanes there because there's a left-hand turn lane that goes Southfield Road, and then the other lane that allows you to go straight or make a right-hand turn. So there isn't room to provide another drive-through lane, so to speak. It's 1 lane going east. If you're coming in off Southfield Road, there's only 1 lane there.
And so there's no way to even consider putting in another one?
They can't put another lane in, no. There isn't, you don't have enough, it isn't wide enough there to put additional in.
What if,
Yeah, I was going to say, what if you take away something else? A parking space or something?
Yeah.
Could that?
I guess I'm having a hard time understanding exactly what you're asking.
I'm trying to, in essence, have another lane, like, you know how on not all streets, but, like when we get to 12 Mile, there's a lane that you get into to make a right-hand turn. So is there a lane that they can get into just to turn into Culver's and have the other two lanes open?
No, there isn't enough room there. I mean, we have 3 designated lanes. Again,
So could we
have
create one,
the
though?
eastbound lane that goes into the Spring Haven development. Then we have a left-hand turn lane out onto Southfield Road, and then a turn lane that can go straight on Webster, or you make a right-hand turn. That is it. There isn't additional room. There isn't an additional area in which we could put more laneage, so to speak, just for Culver's only. No.
Really?
There
Okay.
just isn't enough space, no.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Councilman Hoskins, do you have any questions?
No, everyone has asked all the questions. I will just say, I too have had an incident, an accident almost at this particular area, leaving Windflower going onto Southfield. So I understand what the residents have been saying, who've been coming up. I'm not sure. I lean more towards what Councilwoman Banks was saying about some of the concerns with the traffic, and particularly with the, I guess I do have things to say, particularly with the entrance. I'm just, and it just helped me out with it, because as people are exiting, if people are exiting, making a left so they can go onto Southfield, and people are making a right out of where the Starbucks and everything is, I mean, you guys studied this, so I'm just trying to get a visual of making sure, like, if people aren't coming out at the same time, especially at the higher traffic areas, higher traffic times, excuse me. I just want to make sure, like, did you guys look at that, you study that to make sure that there wouldn't be any issues?
Yeah, that's part of the whole traffic study, correct.
One of the things that was brought up is just about the viability of Culver's, just in general. One of the concerns was like, oh no, what if we open this up and, I don't know, 2 years from now it closes down because of whatever reasons? Was there some kind of study just on that, just to make sure that this is, you know, if we're opening this up, we're planning on, this is something that we think could be viable in this, particularly in this area?
Culver's has got their own programs that they use, preparatory programs that allow, you know, studies like this to see if a Culver's would make it or not. And, you know, they don't put any Culver's into a place that they don't feel would be adequate, you know, to you know, ruin their brand recognition. So there's, you know, many things behind that besides, you know, if a business will go out, they're looking at the whole community and overall and how it would fit in with the community.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
And, thank you. I just had one last question. Was there any other conversation of having any other entrances and exits? I mean, I know.
As far as exit, you want to have all the traffic going through a controlled intersection, because it's the safest exit, egress and egress to get in and out. So, you know, if you don't have a traffic light there, you're going to cause more accidents and more congestion. That's why there's a controlled intersection there. When the subdivision got built, that's why they have a light there. It's to control the traffic coming in the subdivision, out of the subdivision, and the businesses along that whole, you know, strip right there.
Does this go all the way down to Edwards? Because Edwards was mentioned on here.
What's
No,
Edwards?
it's farther south.
Yeah, Edwards is quite a distance south.
It's further, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's further south toward 12 Mile Road.
Okay. And there's, the only other thing is the plaza that's there. The shopping plaza.
Yes.
So that, you know, that's the reason why, you know, this whole event was put in, is because of that traffic light and controlling the amount of traffic that's coming in and going out.
I was trying to think of how we might even utilize some of the plaza, I mean, with wayfinding signs even, to get around some kind of way. I'm just thinking.
Right.
Trying to help, I don't know. And then I wanted to ask, I know that you saying that you've talked with a lot of the residents and stuff, but there's still some residents that have not heard or spoken with you, I'm assuming, based on some of the conversations that we have. Have you, I don't know who you reached out to, but have you had like
I reached out to Jim and, some of the board members. I reached out to Jim and some of the board members. We had a personal meeting out there one evening and discussed the project itself.
Okay.
And like I said, trying to make sure that I address the needs, the concerns of the community to the east as well to the north and to the south.
Would you be willing to speak with some of the ones that's here tonight?
That's kind of what we're doing right now. I mean, I have no problem doing
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay.
Because I addressed the, issue of the noise, we moved the speaker post. I addressed the issue of the trash. We have, a guy that specifically every morning that opens up the restaurant, and that's his job, is to get the opening of the restaurant. As far as lighting concerns go, we talked about the lighting in the parking lot, along that drive-through side, that, lights would dim down at night, and if there's a motion, car, somebody walking through, the lights ramp right back up. And I do that, on another Culver's project, because that's what the community wanted, is the lights to dim down at night. And then, as people come through or whatever, trips it, the lights will ramp right back up and bring security to that issue, to that area.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Mayor?
This is a bit of a dilemma in that we hear all the time from residents that they want more dining options. And I know that besides the drive-through, Culver's does have indoor seating. I also know that Oakland County, which controls the road, doesn't like curb cuts. But was any thought given to approaching the county about coming in on Windflower and going out on Southfield Road? In other words, making in one way, out the other, and right turn only on Southfield Road, so you don't have people going left to go south? Has any thought been given to that? And it's kind of where I think Councilwoman Taylor was going.
No, I mean, that's an Oakland County one. That's always a traffic signal there. Traffic signals are a safe, way to get in and out of a property. And so that's why when this whole development was made, they signalized a traffic signal right there at the intersection. They don't want any more curb cuts on Southfield Road.
Yeah,
I
I know
can't
they
speak to
don't,
them, but
but,
I know, because if you do right in, that slows traffic down behind them. They have no control, slowing the traffic down to turn right into it. So there's other ramifications of, putting curb cuts in, is that, you change the traffic flow on Southfield Road, differently than what you'd have with a controlled intersection that's already currently there.
Okay. So I opened up Google Earth here, and is this, if the council doesn't approve this, is this it's an all or nothing? There is a almost identically sized parcel right across the street. It's a closed bank. I don't know, it seems to me that would be a better location. I mean, I'd like to see this vacant land developed where you're proposing the Culvers, but I think this is probably too an intense use. Something else that didn't generate as much traffic might be better for that site. But again, I'll ask my question. If you don't get this approval for this site, are you done? Or will you consider another
The property
location?
across the street we looked at, it's not for sale.
I'm sorry?
The property across the street we looked at, it's not for sale, the bank.
All right, well, I'm just suggesting that one.
No, I understand that. Yeah, no, this is our only option right here, is this.
All right, so, again, putting you on the spot, if the council doesn't approve this, are you just hanging it up in Southfield?
Pretty much, yeah. We'll
Okay.
develop
All right.
and put something else there, so.
I think the council needs to know that.
Right.
Thank you.
I did have follow-up question for planning. This is zoned for B3. Can you give me some examples of other uses for the B3?
I was anticipating that question. So in the B3 general business, again, we're split into both permitted uses and special land uses. From a permitted use standpoint, we could be looking at a medical office, a bank, which I think was originally a proposal for that particular property, a post office, nursery school, photographic studio, funeral home, retail establishment, veterinary clinic, an assembly hall or religious institution, open-air retail sales, a hotel. Again, restaurants could be placed on this site if it's in a shopping center that's 3 to 4 units. So it'd be similar to what is in across the street. Health and fitness type use. Under the special land use portion, which is similar to what the petitioner is going through this evening, those uses would include a recreational center like a skating rink, a bowling alley, motor vehicle washing facility, gas station, automotive repair or automotive service, auto truck or agency retail. We did note the drive-through of the fast food restaurants, open-air display and sale of motorhomes, motels, theaters, alternative financial institutions, pawn shops, smoking lounges, soup kitchens, cabaret, small box retail, a kennel, a pet daycare. So that kind of gives you the idea. B3 really is kind of an all-encompassing zoning district for commercial that does allow a considerable number of uses.
Okay. And then I also noticed that they are providing 8 or 9 more parking spaces than are required. And I would go back to the question some of my colleagues asked, if they're, if it can be discussed with the owners to the south for a cross parking lot access, because that would provide another either entrance or exit to the south. And when I drive by, I know that parking lot is never full. And I know that I think they can afford to give that through. I don't know if there's been any thought, if you've approached them at all, if you've thought about that access point and how that would work, or if you're interested in looking
It
at
kind
that.
of, if you do that, it makes congestion to get through the drive-through very difficult. Go ahead.
I think, like if we do that option, it's like we're moving one problem to another location, So you're gonna have a lot of people making left and go through the other, parking lot. I think
Internally, it's going to be a lot harder to get people to
traffic circulation,
Right,
it's
traffic
not-
circulation. Because of the way the drive-throughs on that side, and trying to get people to come and exit through that area right there.
Okay, and you said you can stack how many cars in the drive-through?
I think it's 18 or 20, is that correct?
If I may through the chair, it was 20.
20, okay.
So we got considerably a lot. And plus, we got people that are dining in too. I know, like someone had mentioned before, that we're focusing on the drive-through. We got, a dining room too that people enjoy to come in and sit down and have their, dinner there, opposite of what the drive-through is.
Okay. And because Windflower is a private drive and everyone pays into it, there's 3 owners, is that correct? This lot, the one to the north, and then the homeowners.
Correct,
Is
yes.
it an even split of maintenance costs?
I think it's done by volume of area, I believe. I don't know how they came up with that. I shouldn't, comment, because I don't know how they made that decision on, as far as, the splitting of that.
Okay. Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah. Planner Smith, of the proposed uses that you mentioned, is a restaurant the least intrusive? Because that was a pretty broad list you gave there, and it was all over the place.
Would a restaurant be the least intrusive?
Yeah.
Generally, restaurants have certain hours of operation. I think a gas station could be open 24 hours unless the city council decided to put certain requirements on hours of operation.
Sure.
So a restaurant generally is not open 24 hours, at least we know for sure that this one is not. They're very specific, 10:30 to 10:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. However, a gas station type use on that corner, which probably would fit, could be open 24 hours, again, like I said, unless the city council decided to put hours of operation as special land use.
Sure. Yeah, and you know, I think with respect to my limited knowledge of Culver's, I understand it's a fairly good restaurant. Everything I've heard about it, it's people get good food there, and it has staying power from a marketability standpoint. So I wouldn't be concerned about it closing anytime soon. But one additional question that just came up just recently. I'm assuming drive-through would be a small part of your business. Do you know what percent of revenue comes from drive-through as opposed to sit-down? I assume sit-down is much larger.
It's about even.
They're
It's pretty close, yeah. Yeah, because we do a decent amount of sit-down business.
Okay, so that's interesting.
And before COVID, it was more sit-down than drive-through.
Yeah, that's what I was familiar with COVID too.
No. Before COVID, before, the pandemic,
Right.
it was probably a lot more sit-down than drive-through.
Yeah, that's what I'm familiar
Right.
with, was the sit-down, okay.
And so then it's kind of turned the other way where people are,
Okay,
doing a little more drive-through and then versus sit-down.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, planning, did you want to read your recommendation?
With regard to PSLU 22-0002, special use request of Rosetta Building Company to allow for the use of a property for a standalone restaurant with drive-through, property located Sidwell parcel 2412-153019 in the east side of Southfield Road between Edwards and Windflower. The Planning Department does recommend approval for the following reasons and conditions as shown in the resolution before you.
Okay, thank you. Council?
Were you looking for a motion then?
If someone wants to make a motion?
Okay. I move that we approve PSLU 22-0002 as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Taylor, to approve PSLU 22-0002. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Do a roll call.
Can we do a roll call, please?
Councilman Hoskins,
No.
Council President Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Council President Pro Tem Taylor,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz,
No.
Councilwoman Banks,
No.
and Councilman Brightwell.
Yes.
Okay. Council President, we have 3 yes and 3 no. Because we don't have Councilman Frazier here.
So, does that pass, or is that?
No, it does not pass.
It fails for
lack of
out
more?
of tie as a fail.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a fail.
it's a fail.
We don't have a majority.
Okay,
Council President,
yes.
a point of privilege, please, regarding my no vote. I am voting no because I do not feel that there is adequate ingress and egress in that area and also for the residents in that area. So that's what constitutes my no vote. It's not that I don't want a Culver's in the city. I just think that is the wrong location. And I just don't think there's enough room for the cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Question to planning or maybe legal. If the petitioner comes back with a different plan to help with some of the concerns that were heard this evening, they can do that and they can make another presentation, or do they have to go through the entire planning process?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm looking at legal to see if they may have an opinion on that.
Is your mic on?
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. Good evening. With respect to the, if the petitioner wants to come back to planning with another proposal, certainly that can go through the process again. All of the preliminaries have pretty much been done at this point, but if there are additional, is there additional information that needs to be brought before the residents, that can be done, and then that can come back to council.
Okay. Thank you. So this motion has failed. The petitioner is welcome to look for other options within the traffic concerns that you've heard this evening, and we hope that you can reconsider and figure out a way to make it work. Okay, thank you very much. So that would mean that we are not going to be discussing item B?
Correct, yeah, it'd be a moot point because the special land use was not approved, so there's no reason to take up the site plan.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda are agenda items for discussion and/or action. The first item is authorization for epoxy floor striping contract.
Thank you, Council. Department of Public Works sought bids for the epoxy striping for interior of the Public Works garage. For those who do not know, it is a circular building, and we try to block off sufficient parking based on the size of the trucks and also to allow for safe ingress and egress throughout the building. In order to do that, we need striping. We went out for bid and received 2 bids. One was from, or the lowest bid was from Protec Concrete Coatings of Macomb, Michigan. Their bid was $12,500. We do have sufficient funds in the Public Service Building Improvement Account. Their bid was found to be compliant, and we asked the City Council for approval of this bid.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Okay. Motion?
I move that we approve the authorization for the epoxy floor stripping contract.
Support. It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilman Cruz, to approve the authorization for the epoxy floor striping contract. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the authorization to purchase the canine buildup equipment for the police department.
Right. And for those who don't know, these are specially equipped Chevy Tahoes that are equipped, they're the K9 units. It's K9 unit number 1 and K9 unit number 9. Both have in excess of 100,000 miles. We went out and sought quotes for retrofitting these vehicles to put the proper cages and equipment to have safety when we transport the K9 units. The total amount, the lowest quoter was $24,116.18, and that was out of Winder Police Equipment of Southgate, Michigan. We do have sufficient funds in the motor pool vehicle account for this purchase. We ask, therefore, that the council approve and authorize the purchase of these items.
Councilman Banks?
Thank you. Are these, is it cages? Like,
in essence, they're cages, but they're also protective areas put aside to restrain the dog.
Can these be removed from these vehicles and put into a new vehicle several years down the road?
Depending on the model shape, that's the problem. The last time we did this in 2019, the vehicles are not equipped, are not the same dimensions. But if they are, yeah, they could be reused.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'll make a motion for the council to approve the authorization to purchase K-9 build-up equipment for the police department as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve the authorization to purchase the K-9 buildup equipment for the police department. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the authorization to purchase a gooseneck trailer for the water division.
The Motor Pool Division is asking for authorization to purchase a gooseneck trailer. For those who don't know, that's a trailer that transports large, heavy, earth-moving equipment. It's got the little hitch like this that mounts in the bottom. That's why this is called a gooseneck. It has to be manufactured. They don't leave a lot on the lots. We went out for bids. We received 5 bids. We reviewed the bids and found that the second highest bid was a superior trailer and also had a much quicker turnaround on the manufacturing, 60 to 240 days. And because these are manufactured on site, we don't have the problem similar to the time we bought the equipment for the sign truck, where it took forever because we were dealing with 2 dealers, 2 different manufacturers. Therefore, we asked the City Council approve the second highest bidder, Kelly and Sons Trailers, out of Carlton, Michigan, for the purchase of this trailer for the total expenditure of $16,650. There are sufficient funds in the budget for it.
Any questions, council?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that we authorize the purchase of the gooseneck trailer for the water division as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve the authorization to purchase gooseneck trailer for the water division. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Council, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, we have a proposed sale of real property on West Haven.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are requesting authorization to sell a parcel 762435483005 on West Haven to Mr. Anthony Ebor for a cost of $6,000, subject to the conditions of council's actions this summer, that there would be a bond in the amount of $35,000, the difference between the discounted price and the property's true cash value. And that is pursuant to council's action in July of 22, July 11th of 2022.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Mr. Mayor?
This is a property that the city acquired through tax foreclosure. The home that was on this lot had a fire and was foreclosed by Bank America. And then subsequently, the Bank America walked away from it, and it became part of the county treasurer's. The lot is a little bit difficult or perhaps less desirable in the fact that it backs up to 8 Mile Road. Neighbors are interested in having this gap on the street filled. And Mr. Erebor has family that lives down the street, so they're interested in building a home on this property. And I hope the council will find in favor of that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
President?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Taylor.
I'll make a motion that we approve the authorization for the sale of parcel 762435483005 on West Haven as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Taylor, supported by Councilman Cruz, to approve the proposed sale of real property on the West Haven parcel 762435483005. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have a repair to the pavilion roof.
Good evening, Council. We're asking for authorization for a plumbing repair, actually, similar to what was done in the police garage, but on a much smaller scale. Unfortunately, the problem here is location. It's above the ceiling in the pavilion. That one makes it very difficult to getting there. Getting there is more than half the job. And it makes it difficult to assess the actual extent of the damage for certain and the insulation material. So if this were anywhere else in the campus, we would have repaired it. It would not have required your consideration or approval. It would have been repaired in 2 days. Unfortunately, we have 2 plumbing contractors, and calling them both out, the first one declined to bid on it. They didn't want to work up there. The second one's a much larger company with a more diverse skill set, so they are able to work up there, but it's more expensive for several reasons. The height, there's additional cost if there's an asbestos-containing material insulating it. We can't tell from now. So if there's an asbestos-containing material, we're asking for $13,123. That includes a 10% contingency because we really can't see what's up there for the repair. As I say, the problem's location. It's a 6-inch pipe, probably 6 feet. Anywhere else it would have been done, but here it's a real job.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Councilman Brightwell.
How long, is there any way of knowing how long this leak, this spot has been leaking, and how was it found?
It was found when water started dripping through the ceiling, and it has been leaking intermittently for months now, actually.
Oh, so
And
is there,
we've placed containers under it to catch it, but it really does just need to be repaired.
okay. Is there any structural damage, or is it too early to tell?
No, there's no structural damage. There's no wood or anything that would rot, so that's fortunate.
And if I may, John, there's a frequency that we have those roof drains inspected?
Yes, sir, but unfortunately, this is not the scupper, which is where the water collects off the roof. It's actually the plumbing that runs under it. It's the same plumbing that runs through this entire campus as far as the roof water. So it is starting to fail. We replaced everything in the police garage. It depends on the angle of the pipe, if there's maybe a belly in it, if it rusts a little bit sooner. But fortunately, we will replace this with PVC, so it won't need to be replaced again. The problem is we just don't know where it's going to fail next.
Say it again, what?
The problem is we just don't know where it's going to fail next. That's the problem with this plumbing. It's all about the same age, and it's all through campus.
Yeah, that was my other question. Are we having similar downspout or whatever potential leak looked at all over the campus at this particular point? Is that a rational or reasonable thing to do, to have these type locations? I'm not a plumber, but these type of locations with this potential problem to be looked at and/or inspected?
Probably replacing as part of our general building rejuvenation that we're looking at may be a good idea. As for right now, probably waiting for failures is the most economical and practical course of action.
Okay. So how long would it take, well, if this is approved, how long will it take to get this job done?
Probably a couple weeks. It's not a huge job once the contract's approved.
Okay. So waiting for failure, obviously that's it's a strategy, but is there any potential, I'm just trying to say whether or not something big could happen while we're waiting for failure.
Yes, sir.
Much bigger than this.
I mean, the problem is, for instance, inspecting this plumbing, it's almost the cost of replacing, because it's renting the equipment to get you up there. We don't have anything that will get you above the ceiling in the pavilion. So by the time you're up there, you might as well just replace it. And do you replace that where it's not leaking, or a lot of our maintenance is in response to problems. There are a lot of things that could be replaced. Basically, there's no system on this campus that is not past its life expectancy. And Mr. Zorn, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But it's difficult to predict where failures will occur. So right now we're responding. Now, of course, the program that you're working on as far as the entire campus is an opportunity to repair things before they fail.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Hoskins, yes.
I move that we authorize the contracting with Allied for repairs of the pavilion roof leak.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Hoskins, supported by Councilwoman Taylor, to approve the repair of the pavilion roof leak as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is a renewal for a lease of 24433 West 9 Mile Road.
Yes, sir. We have completed the first year of renting out the apartment side of the old fire station located at 9 Mile and Prosper. The goal in doing this was to, one, generate revenue from a building that had sat empty for years, over a decade, at least a portion of it, reduce the maintenance cost to the building, and prevent problems commonly associated with vacant buildings, and that has been a success. For this last year, we've not paid someone to inspect this on a weekly basis. We have someone in the building who will detect problems immediately, as opposed to even weekly inspections. Sometimes we don't find a problem for 3 or 4 days after it occurred, which causes damage. Also, we've had no vandalism to the building for this year. In the few years previous, we actually had 3 petty vandalism to the building. So the program is working very well. Again, we brought out Right House Realty. They specialize in residential rentals, a Southfield company. They recommended increasing the rent by 10% to $605. The tenant is agreeable to this, would like to stay in the apartment, and we're requesting permission to approve one additional lease for $605 per month.
Okay, thank you. Council? Councilman Banks?
Thank you. Are the utilities included?
In this instance, the utilities are not included because of the way the building is configured. It's difficult to break them out. For instance, at the same time that we started renting this, we repaired one of the 2 heaters in the fire base side because we had problems with freezing pipes, which caused probably a bigger increase than the rentals. There's also water supplied on both sides, so that's difficult to really decide who's using what. Probably more from the residential side, I do understand that. We also installed a water heater, which should have been there all along, but we replaced a water heater. So a lot of the utility increases were probably on the other side because it is such a large building in comparison to that small apartment.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Okay. Councilman Brightwell?
No, I'll make a move. I move that we approve the renewal of the lease for 24433 West 9 Mile as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Taylor, to approve the renewal of the lease for 24433 West 9 Mile Road. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the council portion.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to move approval of the travel expense report for Councilwoman Taylor to attend the Michigan Municipal League Convention in Muskegon, October 19th through the 21st, 2022.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilman Banks, to approve the travel expense report for Councilwoman Taylor to attend the MML convention on October 19th through October 21st, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
One abstention. Motion passes. Thank you. Councilman Banks, did you have anything under council portion you wanted to add?
I would just like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving and also a safe one. And try to remember those that live near or around you that may be alone on Thanksgiving. Maybe you can pay them a visit or share some of your holiday meal with them. Thank you.
Councilman Cruz?
I want to know what Nancy's cooking first. You know, Mr. Chairman. No, I'm just kidding. Likewise to everyone here in the city, just want to wish everyone a happy holiday, Thanksgiving and so forth. I did just have one thing, Mr. President, if you don't mind me sharing, just initiative I'd like to see the council look at moving forward for the next year or so, and that goes back to community benefits agreements. And I know we've talked about this a little bit a few times, but I really want us to push a little bit harder on getting this done this year, so that you know, I think that the community will be very well served by it, and happy to see it finally come to fruition. I get asked about it a lot, and so I don't know, you know, and I think we had it in legislative a couple times, so, but it, you know, we never got through it all the way. It's a little bit of a complicated thing, but nonetheless, I would just like to kind of make that a priority of council this year, if you all feel the same about that as well. And that's all I have.
Would you repeat what you asked for?
Community benefits agreements. Okay. And I mean, it just I could just say real quick, if you don't mind, you know, for people that are listening, that these types of agreements are simply agreements between the city and contractors as they come in to do work in the city, that we make an agreement that as part of the work, a percentage of the cost of that work is going to be given to the city for a particular purpose. And it could be a park, it could be a senior citizen space, you know, it could be something like what we do with public art, things of that nature, but just something that helps to build up the city. We give a lot of tax abatements every time someone does development here. So, I mean, I think we do, which is nothing necessarily wrong with that part, but at the same time, as they're thriving, we want to continue to all be a partner in investing in our city.
Agreed.
Thank you. All right, Councilwoman Taylor?
Thank you. I too would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy your holidays, but I'd also like to ask for the council to pick up an initiative this year. Since we're going to have a ballot this year, and I'm sorry, an election, could we look at, and with everyone here agreeing to, adding where we can, we the candidates, when we run for an office here in the city of Southfield, have an option to pay a fee to be a candidate. And the reason I bring that up is because of COVID and the pandemic. A lot of people, when we go to knock on doors or stand out front to get signatures, they do not want to have that face-to-face or whatever. And we don't know what's down the road and what's in our future. And if there's, and just to be in line with other offices, if you run for school board, county, state, or other places, you're allowed to pay a fee, for lack of a better word, and I would refer to legal and our legislative team to look at that and see what we could do if this council is in agreement to have that, our charter changed or to have that added. And I know by it being a charter change, we have to send it to the public to vote on, and this would be an ideal time to do that.
Okay, we can have that taken up at the legislative committee. Anything else to add?
No, just enjoy your holidays. Stay safe. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah, I'd like to echo everyone's comment with respect to Thanksgiving. I want to wish everyone a very happy and peaceful and safe Thanksgiving. And also with respect to my veterans, the Lake Shore Legal Aid is sponsoring an expungement clinic Friday, December the 2nd, here in Southfield. It'll be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. However, to be seen, you need to pre-register. The website, and there will be some flyers in the lobby of the of City Hall here for the next week or two, before December the 2nd. But the website is called Pro Bono. It's PROBONO at LakeshoreLegalAid.org. That expungement for veterans who have some things on their criminal record is very, very good for your future with respect to getting jobs and getting job interviews. And this clinic, which is free, will undertake your legal problems and expunge and work to clear your record of whatever you have out there. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to speculate what can be expunged, but I'm assuming, high felonies cannot be expunged, like killing somebody, so I just did that to, don't assume you can get that removed from your record. So they're doing 2 clinics. One will be December the 2nd, here in Southfield, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And they have another one which is being planned for Friday, January the 20th in 2023, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And you need to pre-register before January the 13th. I know that's quite a bit, but this will be on a flyer in the lobby. We have a box in the lobby of the City Hall here that holds numerous community event items. But if you have any questions with respect to what I said tonight, you can reach me here at City Hall, 248-796-5150. And once again, everybody have a very wonderful and peaceful Thanksgiving. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins.
Thank you. And I echo what my colleague said and wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And as you are out with your family, I just want to make sure everyone knows. I mean, of course, there's been a lot of, as we get together, as it's been getting colder, and of course, as we get together, we are all in close proximity to each other, which can cause the spread of a lot of the diseases that we have out there, including COVID and the flu. RSV is impacting our children. So I just want to make sure that people, if they can, go get a vaccine for COVID and the flu. We have an option here in Southfield where you can go through Oakland County. You can go to the Oakland County Health Division, their South Oakland Center, which is on Greenfield by Catalpa Park. You can either go through oak.gov/health, or you can give them a call at 1-800-848-5533. On their website, they have many appointments, so you can go tomorrow if you want and get your vaccine, or Wednesday, right before the holidays. But that is all I have. I hope everyone has a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. I too echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and extended weekend. Please remember City Hall will be closed on Thanksgiving and the day after. So please enjoy the extended weekend with family and friends. Mr. Mayor.
I have nothing this evening other than shop small, and happy holiday to all.
Thank you. City Administrator?
I too would like to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving, and very seldom does council miss something. The December 6th Christmas tree lighting starts at 5:30 here. That's on Tuesday, December 6th. The festivities will begin by welcoming Santa and the tree lighting ceremony at approximately 6 p.m. Guests will be able to visit Santa's reindeer, enjoy ice carving demonstrations, watch the University High dance team and impulse dancers perform, and there will be holiday take-home craft kits for kids. So that is Tuesday, December 6th, in front of City Hall for our tree lighting.
Thank you. City Attorney?
Nothing other than happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk?
I have nothing other than happy Thanksgiving to all of our residents.
Thank you. City Treasurer? City Planner?
If I may just echo what the rest of this body has already noted, and that's that people have a happy Thanksgiving and safe one.
Thank you. City Assessor, Engineer, we have nothing to schedule. Next, we have a closed session.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session for the pursuant to the Opens Meeting Act 267, Section 7, MCL 15-268C, a discussion for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement in a closed session as requested by one of the negotiating parties.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to go into a closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Public Act 267, Section 7, MCL 15.268C, as requested by one of the negotiating parties. Roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz?
Yes.
Councilman Hoskins?
Yes.
Council President Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Taylor?
Yes.
Councilwoman Banks?
Yes.
And Councilman Brightwell?
All right, thank you. We will now go into a closed session. Thank you, everyone.